This is how to replace a head gasket at home on your 1998 to 2003 Honda Accord or Honda Odyssey with the F23 4-cylinder engine. First, I will show you 3 ways to tell if your head gasket is bad, going from the easiest way to the hardest way. If you are interested in flipping cars for extra money, check out the video in the top right corner. This car was supposed to be a flip car but ended up needing a head gasket, so here we are. I hope you find this video helpful. It'll cover everything you need to know. Test 1. Take the oil cap off the car and look inside the cap and into the top of the valve cover. If you see more than a very small amount of white milkiness on the cap or in the engine, this indicates coolant is mixing with your oil, which means bad head gasket. Also see if it's on your oil dipstick, but it may not always be there. Test 2. Make sure your engine is cold before trying this. Remove the radiator cap and start the engine. If coolant shoots out the cap, it's 100% a bad head gasket. This indicates that combustion gas is in the coolant system. It may not shoot out with a blown head gasket, but you might still be able to see smoky gases bubbling out of the top of the radiator when the car is running. Test 3. Do a compression test. This requires a compression tester kit. You can find these really cheap on Amazon or Harbor Freight. All you have to do is remove the 4 spark plugs and do this. I got the compression tester in there, screwed all the way in. If your compression for this engine is not between 100 and 135 psi, or the readings for each cylinder are more than 10% different, you have a compression issue. What I'm gonna do is a series of 4 tests. So crank once, crank twice, crank 3 times, crank 4 times, and then that'll give us an accurate measure, and I'm doing that for all cylinders. I'm also going to keep the throttle all the way open so it disengages the injectors and allows for more airflow. $130. That is good. I'm gonna check for compression anyways. Uh-oh. That one is the same as this one. So that's good. Holy shit. 175 on that one. If the engine failed one of the 2 previous tests and this test indicates bad compression, you have verified that you indeed need a new head gasket. One extra helpful note: you can get a head gasket leak detector from Amazon for cheap that will guarantee that the head gasket is bad. It pretty much does test number 2, but can show even the smallest of head gasket leaks. This is going to be a full process of a head gasket replacement. It was spewing out like a water fountain, which 100% means blown head gasket or a crack in the block, which I'm doubting. I don't think there's any videos on YouTube showing a full process. I also got a new timing belt because I messed it up the other time by the washer hit part of the timing belt and messed it up. But new timing belts going on, new head gaskets going on, got a whole bunch of other parts for it. 12 millimeter. These are also 12 millimeters, but I'm gonna soak them down with a PB Blaster. Hopefully I still have some. Good stuff. 1, 2, 3. Oh, of course, it's pulling the stud out. Great. Three bolts on the bottom side. Looks like 3 bolts right there. Just gonna pop those out as well. using 2 extensions to reach it. It's a little overkill. Okay, apparently it was a 14 millimeter. 14, and last one. If you guys aren't able to get those bolts loose for the exhaust, you can use the end of your jack for extra leverage on your ratchet, but don't use it on the manifold. Don't use it on those. Manifold is off. We'll clean that up. Get the gasket off. This is what it looks like when you remove it. I'm wearing gloves so I can eat my Girl Scout cookies while I'm doing this. For me, I'm not gonna have this top cover because I already took it off. But there's only 2 bolts, I believe, that hold it on. You can take that cover off from the bottom one, and you're gonna also have to remove this, which is just a 13 millimeter, I believe, secured to the block. We're gonna have to remove alternator bracket, power steering pump, power steering bracket, probably the valve cover next, and the sparkulator. You're gonna need a 12 millimeter, and there's one bolt right down here. Break that loose, and there's a 12 millimeter on the front side right up here. Looks like we're gonna remove our belt while we're at it. Just pull it out from under there. This is your power steering pump belt, and you can check it by prying on this part and seeing if there's any cracks, and there are no cracks, so that belt is good. All right, then you have this really long bolt on the bottom of the power steering pump that you also want to take out. It is longer than the top, so make sure you put the right one in when you reinstall it. And we're probably just gonna set this aside. We don't have to fully remove it. And then you're gonna have, looks like a 14 millimeter and another 14 millimeter holding that on. All right, and this was facing up. There's only one way it fits in there, so remember that when you put it back on. All right, looks like there's one more bolt right there on the bottom that we need to take the alternator off first to get to. So in order to remove the alternator, you're gonna have to use a 14 is located, you can move your power steering pump, is located right here, and it's in the way of the engine mount, so you have to be careful, but I can break it loose with a long bolt just like that. And then you're gonna have a 12 millimeter nut on the bottom, right on the left bottom side of the alternator. All right, and the 12 millimeter looks just like this. And a 10 millimeter socket on the tensioner bolt, which is located right there. Just loosen that up. I'm hoping we don't have to remove it. All right, that's the end of the thing. Now you can take your serpentine belt off. All right, here's your serpentine belt. It's longer than the power steering pump belt, so don't worry. This belt is good. You can take your really long bolt out, the 10 millimeter that you used to tension the alternator. Come out just like that. And I'm just gonna set the alternator right here so I can keep it inside the car. Looks like there's gonna be a 14 millimeter here, a 14 millimeter there, a 14 millimeter there, One is out. This bolt's out, same length. If you lift up the bracket that holds the alternator on, you can get these bolts out easier. All right. And now we have a 14 millimeter for the power steering, and you should have 3 14 millimeters. Keep track of this one, it looks the same as the alternator bolt. And bracket is off. Alright, I'm gonna keep all this stuff right here because it's disconnected from the head. Now we can do the distributor, wires, plugs. Now I'll try to do the valve cover last because I don't want to get a bunch of dirt inside the engine. It doesn't really matter because you can tell by the length of what plug they go to, and they're also numbered. Just take them out, set them to the side, and there's gonna be two 12 millimeters on the side of the distributor. There is one 12 millimeter right there, and there is a 12 millimeter, let's see, there's a 12 millimeter on that side. Make sure you also unplug the distributor and she can come off. Before you pull the distributor off, you want to put a towel underneath it so it can catch the oil. That's one. That's what it looks like. And here is two. And then you can pull all of this off. All of this can go. While that's dripping everywhere, we can go to this side and take out the spark plugs. Spark plugs are going to be 16 millimeter. Unless I already have them loose. They might already be loose for me. But you want to break them loose and then pull them all the way out. I use one of these bad boys with a little push thing, and when you push it, it grabs. Now you can grab your spark plugs. These are brand new ones for me. Oh! These were brand new ones for me. And you're gonna wanna be careful not to drop them like I just did. I gotta go get a spark plug gapper. But here's your plugs. Put them aside. Now we can set the timing to top dead center compression with a paper towel. You want to shove it in here. Now we're gonna have to remove the wheel to reach what we're trying to reach. You're gonna need a 19 millimeter or a 3/4 socket to take these lug nuts off. Take your cap off, and then your wheel. Now what you're looking for is the crank pulley bolt, which is right there. And it is the same size as lug nuts, 19 millimeter. So what I'm gonna do is put that on there, just like that. And we're gonna look at the top as we spin it. We're gonna spin it counterclockwise, and we're gonna wait until we see the up arrow. But we're also gonna wait until it blows out that paper towel. Right there, that's the compression stroke. And now that we know this is where the up arrow is and it pushed out that right there, we're gonna stick a flathead screwdriver down there, a really long one, so we can see what the actual top dead center is for the cylinder. But now what we're gonna do is turn it till we see this brake line go all the way up. So we gotta go the other way now. So that is our mark. You can see where it's right about there, where it's fully top dead center and you can't move it up anymore. Now we can start removing the timing belt. To remove this right here just from that clip, and if you have, there might be a clip here for some of you that you have to get out with some pliers. Me, I just broke it the other time I took this off, so. Alright. Now, there's gonna be one here. There's gonna be one on this side. Right here. And I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to take this off first. Maybe some of you at home have a specialized drill that can actually is powerful enough to take that bolt off, but mine is not. So what I did is I'm using a 1/2 inch wrench on a special adapter. This is the part number I got from AutoZone in a special little kit for like 30 bucks, I think, maybe a little bit more. What you're gonna do is put this on, turn it to the right, get it centered on the actual thing, and we're putting it under the bar so that when you turn it up, it can't move anywhere. And then we're gonna put a socket in the middle, 19mm in the middle, set to the loose setting, and I'm gonna use the end of my jack again to quickly, we're probably gonna have to redo, the top dead center after this, but that's okay. Get it as far as you can up here, stick your thing in there. For me, I'm gonna have to twist it one more time, and one more time, and here she goes, just like that, and she's loose. The only problem is now the timing's off by a little bit. So what I'm gonna do with this is just smack it so I can gently turn this over again and watch for top dead center. Next, we're going to pull this cover off. That's how many there are down here. There is one, it's gonna be hard to see, probably not gonna be able to see it through the camera. It's right down here on the right side of that plastic panel piece. Get yourself a 1/4 ratchet with a 10mm socket, and it's gonna be right where the plug is for the crank sensor. Alright, please don't drop it. Right there. 4 screws for the bottom one, and then on your own, when you take the top cover off, it's going to be 2 right across from each other. Alright. This is your cover inside. And usually they come with a rubber piece, but mine is in the top of the engine bay. We're gonna take the spring off up here. That's a 10mm, that's a 14. We want to loosen both of those off. Alright, you're gonna have to use a small 10mm. This guy right here, and then you need a 14mm wrench, lefty loosey. Now here's the important part. You got this, the washer goes in between that nut and this tensioner piece. There's your washer. No, there's your piece and the spring. And now we can take this off. It's a bearing / tensioner. Pull this belt off like that. All of these are your parts down here. And there's your timing belt with your crank sensors if you need to replace those. One thing you do want to be sure of is that that spring is on right there. Pull your timing belt off. There. There. Okay. Timing belt is dangling. And the only way to take this off is to remove the engine mount. We're gonna have to support the engine up with another jack. I have a jack here just to support the car in case the jack stands fail, but what you really need is a jack under the oil pan, preferably with the with a block of wood on top of the jack, because the notches will dig into the oil pan. Not good. Put that there and put pressure on the oil pan so when you loosen this engine mount, the engine doesn't fall sideways. We're gonna take this bolt off. That fell to the floor, we're good. This 17 millimeter. We can break loose. Breaker bar, the camera. Alright, that one's loose. That one's loose. And this one's gonna be weird. Guess we're about to find out. Oh, look at that. This bolt is off. This bolt is out. That bolt's off as well. So now we can take the little piece that was causing our issue, and there she is. Now we can remove our timing belt. Alright, I did a couple things off camera. I took the valve cover off. I just broke all I'll show you. I have the valve cover over here. All I did was I broke this loose. I broke this one loose, broke this one loose, this one loose, and this one loose. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. I might be missing one, so that might be 6. 5 or 6 bolts that you have to take off, and the valve cover is off. There's also rubber gaskets in here, so you're gonna have to pull straight up when you pull the valve cover off. And then you can see all of the coolant build up at the bottom. We'll clean all that up. So what I did here was, it's not really gonna matter because the piston is at top dead center. Actually, the piston might not be at top dead center, but I'm gonna fix that. This is the camshaft pulley, and you can see there's an arrow that lines up with that notch right there, or that raised piece of aluminum. So we are good there. I'm gonna line up everything on there. We're gonna have to take this pulley off, and we're gonna have to take all of this off. So that's gonna be fun. But the only thing that matters is that we have this one at top dead center on the compression stroke. so we can redo all the valves after we're done. Is I'm loosening up all of these 12mm bolts on the top. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm on this one, I believe. Number 1 on the very... There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 10mm. You just have to remove these 10 bolts right here. They're 12mm, and then you have to remove the four 10mm. Keep the bolts in there because it'll be easier to. We're gonna remove this entire assembly. I'll show you in a second. Yeah, you just want to pry up at it. Then we're gonna hold it by the edge, and we're gonna push it together so the springs don't contract, and we're gonna rock it. Hopefully knocking this baby loose. There it goes. Now should be able to remove the entire thing. Without losing anything. I'm gonna show you a close-up of that as soon as I take these gloves off. 14 bolts, prying it a little bit, very gently because it is aluminum, pulling back and forth on it, and we took the valves off. Now we have the spring still here, we have our head bolts showing, we have everything we need right here, including we're gonna have to remove camshaft. Here's a close-up of the valves. You squeeze them together when you take it out so they don't separate. Take the camshaft out, and then we're gonna soak up all of the oil. Getting caught on this wire. Okay. Gotta touch the camshaft. I'm gonna soak all that up with paper towels and get back with you. What I got going on here is I'm draining the coolant. I guess coolant drained. Cleaned up the valve cover, or cleaned up the valleys because there's a bunch of coolant in there. The VTEC solenoid I'm taking off because it's connected to the head, and now I have to take this heater hose off so I can reach the VTEC bolt. There are 2 10mm right there, and I knocked all the 12mm intake manifold bolts off, and there's more underneath it. Gotta remove this hose. Sorry I kind of cut through this area, but the first thing you want to do after you cleaned your values of oil and sludge, we're going to go around here, and in order to, the easiest way that I thought about, it might have taken a little bit longer, but I'm leaving the entire intake in the car and I'm just pulling the head. But in order to do that, there's going to be 4 12 millimeters. There's going to be one, they're on the back side, I'll show you in a second. There's going to be 4 on the top, and then underneath the car there's going to be 6. You can access the 2 under the car from the sides of the head right here, and opposite on the other side. And then you have 4 in the middle that you have to get. And in order to do that, you have to remove the fuel injectors. The only thing I did was I removed this, and I gotta be careful with that because there's an O-ring on there, and that will relieve fuel pressure as well. A little bit of fuel will come out, but it's not much for me. Unplug some sensors, not a big deal. Unplug a couple other things, and you can access the bolts through these holes. The nuts are going to be located, so let me show you where the top ones are first. The top ones are, one is right here, you see that stud? Intake manifold's kind of coming off, but there's another one right there. There's 4 of them up here, and then you got to go through here. It's slightly off-centered, so if you're looking at it from this angle, they're going to be on the left side of this hole, and there's a stud right underneath here, and it goes the same for all the other holes. And what I did is I just let all the nuts drop on the floor, and I'm gonna find them later, but for right now it's disconnected, so now I can take the head off. What I'm gonna do is use a 12-point, let me show you guys. Oh no, it's a size 14 12-point socket, specifically for, this is specifically what the Honda needs. And I'm gonna go from the farthest on each side to the center, slowly working my way on loosening these bolts so I don't warp the head. So we're gonna take the farthest one, you're gonna crack it, and then you're gonna pull it a little bit more. Okay. Gonna crack it and then pull it more. On the other side, I'm about to grab a breaker bar. On the other side, crack it, pull, crack it, pull. Go back to the other side. You get the gist of it. These ones were a lot less tight. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. And the last one in the middle. Now back over here. Fully loosen these guys up. I'm just gonna take the head bolts out. We're getting new ones anyways. Alright, VTech is unplugged just for now. Okay, head is off. Oh. Hold on. There's one wire connected. And she's unplugged now. Oh, I got it. I'm going to clean all this out, clean everything. And we're gonna take a look at our head to see if it is warped. Here's the layout of everything. Glad it's not raining. To check if the head is warped, you will need a metal straight edge. Remove the gasket from the head and clean the surface. Then put your straight edge across the head from all angles. Shine a light on the opposite side you're looking, and if you see light shining through on your side, then you have a warp in your head. Mine did not have a warp, but it's very possible to have one. You will have to take the head to a machine shop if it's warped because the new gasket will fail. It's the next day. Got some good sleep. Now I have the cylinder head covered and we're gonna have to scrape all this gasket off. I tried last night and I gave up. You can see how caked on it is. It's gonna be fun. Then I'm gonna go buy some brake fluid, spray all this down, make it look clean again, and we'll start putting our head gasket on. Alright boys, about to put this on. I had to shave off the gasket. All I did was I took a razor blade and slowly knocked off this gasket right here until there was nothing left. You got to be very careful you don't scratch the aluminum though. I also did this on the block, and then I went over it with some Scotch-Brite, 800 grit I believe it is. This Scotch-Brite will prevent scratches and help remove extra debris. And then I wiped it off with a towel and choke cleaner, or carb cleaner. So, new gasket's gonna go on the studs just like this for the intake manifold, and the exhaust, or the head gasket, it goes just like this. You gotta make sure it's in the up position, and all the holes are not blocked. So I'm good there. We're ready to throw the head on. I'm gonna clean it, clean the head before I put it on, and then we're gonna drop that on, put this on the studs, and start putting her back together. I was not able to film this part, but I got the head on. You can see it's fully sat down on the block. What you're gonna have to do is, once you have this head off, you want to put the gasket on with there's gonna be two pins, one that sits up on this side, one that sits up on this side, and they're little cylinders that just hold the block and the head together and keep the gasket there. You're gonna want to sit this down on there while pushing back on this intake manifold, because you can push it, see, it wiggles. The entire thing wiggles back when you loosen it from the nuts on this that hold this together to the head. But also, before you do that, you want to disconnect I believe this is the thermostat. It also connects the water pipe to it, and that just slides on. I may have broken mine by accident by not taking it off first before I tried to put the head back on, but we'll check it. So once you have that off, the intake is separated. You're pushing on it. You can sit the head on and then just slide it back onto those pins, and it'll sit on there good. So now it's not going anywhere. I'm gonna drop my head bolts in. It's all reverse order now. Hopefully I have all the bolts. There's some sitting right there. This is a Haynes service manual for the Honda Accord 98 through 2002, And we're going under Chapter 2, Part A for the 4-cylinder engine, which is what we have. And it says, the torque specification for the head bolts are in steps. So step 1 would be 22 foot-pounds, which we're doing right now. And the next, I'm going to have someone help me because I don't have a dial to see the exact degree amount. But basically, we're going to 3 times in a row turn a wrench completely 90 degrees around the bolts. And that's a way of measuring torque. I might try to find a conversion and do it without the dial, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go around and tighten all these. I am using, let me show you. You have to use a special socket. It's a 12-point size 14 socket, and I borrowed it from someone at the shop I work at, but you might have to go buy yours from auto store. But we're gonna start in a spiral pattern. This is a 3/8 wrench, 3/8 torque wrench, and I have it set to 22 foot-pounds, just like the manual says. And I already torqued the top one down, but what we're gonna do is hold it right here gently, and we're gonna go in a straight motion in a spiral pattern. So this is the second one. And that's it. Next, if we're going in a circle, we're gonna do this one next. I think I did these ones. Yeah. Alright. They're all torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. Now I can feel confident that no dirt's getting under the head because they're all tightened down. I'm going to go ahead and cover it up while I go to school, and we will continue afterwards. Torque it to 22 foot-pounds, and then you do degrees by that. After that, you will consecutively turn it probably 90 degrees 3 times, I believe it is. We're going to look at the book again and do it that way. But I also had a friend at the shop I work at say you can torque it to 85 foot-pounds in 30-pound increments if you don't have the degrees. I'm going to start at the middle one, go down to the other middle one, go to the left, go down on left, go to the right, go down on right, go to the top left, then the bottom left, top right, bottom right, and then you'll be done. So I'm going to set this to set my torque wrench to 90 degrees. Alright, after trying to figure out my torque wrench, I finally got it. We are set to, see if you can see, 90 degrees, and it'll let me know when I go close to 90. So, here we go. That's a lot of torque. I think what I'm gonna do now, because the two corner studs are making weird noises, I'm just gonna go ahead and 60 foot-pounds. And then next will be 85. Now we're gonna bump it up to 85. I just got this valve cover all cleaned up. I used a bunch of Q-tips to clean out the junk down here. It's all good. It's a little wet still, but all the dirt's gone. I also wiped off the part that the camshaft is gonna sit on. Alright, little update for you. Just putting everything back together. Valve cover clean. I cleaned the intake manifold as well underneath. Then I put the new seals on the injectors. And then there's these little black, I wish I still had them. There's these little black seal things right here. You can put them on the injector itself, but it's easier to put in the car when you put the big black rubber spacer in the block, or in the intake manifold, and then you can put the injectors on, and you can see this is what it should look like when they're lined up. A very, very small gap, I guess. You can't push them in any further, and that's what they look like when you put them on. So make sure all the seals are on there, or else you'll have a gas leak. And I believe there should be a line somewhere that I took off that will connect right here, and that is the fuel return, I believe. Gotta find where that is, but it's coming together. I have the full intake set up again with the injectors, the new seals, and what I had to do was, in order to get these injectors in with the new seals on them, I had to put a little bit of new engine oil on the bigger seal. Oh yeah, I can show a picture of that. And then I had to, remember those two little studs that you had to put in? I screwed those in. That's a 14 millimeter, and then I took a 10 millimeter wrench and screwed the nuts on that hold the fuel rail on, and that's what pulled pulled the fuel rail and the injectors into the intake. So that's all done. The wiring is all secure. I plugged this in. This is plugged in for the EGR. VTEC is on, which is right there. Did that before I did the intake. All of the injectors are plugged in. The O-ring that connects to this guy, there's two 10mm bolts that connect to the fuel rail. I took that off, but it's on now with the seal or the O-ring. I don't think there's anything else that I'm forgetting for the intake. Since it's windy out, I'm gonna try focusing on this, covering this up before a bunch of flowers and stuff get in there. I swear I do the most random stuff sometimes. I just took the end of a jack for leverage. I used a 14mm socket with this 3/8 wrench, 3/8 ratchet, and I put the camshaft in a vise, protected. There's a little shaft on here that I kept against the vise so it can't move. I screwed down the vise onto some weird banister that I had lying around, and now she came loose. So now I can do the gasket underneath. Perfect. I'm going to show you how to get these spark plug seals out. It's kind of a pain if you don't know how to do it. I just figured out how to do it, so hopefully you can see this. You want to take a small screwdriver. What you want to do is put the valve cover on its side. You don't even have to remove these spark plug keepers. All you got to do is put it on its side. Put the little flathead screwdriver on the edge of the valve cover and the gasket, and just give it a couple taps, and then you can pry up at it. Oh, I missed it. You can hear when it gets solid, and that's when you might have to do it in a couple spots because this is a smaller screwdriver. And there's the seal right there. Now we're going to repeat this for the next. And now you can clean your valve cover from any oil and probably contaminants from having a bad head gasket. I'm just gonna spray it down with some carb cleaner, wipe it up, make sure there's no oil left. Okay, so to start your timing belt, make sure the line on the crank gear and the line on the block meet up. If yours is off, just gently move it with the bolt until it's good. Next, your cam gear actually has 3 marks. There are 2 side marks that I indicated in yellow. You want to meet the edge of the head, and the up should be in line with the raised part on the block right behind it that I showed you earlier. Last, the water pump gear also has a timing mark, probably for balancing purposes, so just make sure it's where it should be too. The arrow is showing the mark on the block, and the line shows where the indent on the gear is. Now you can put the belt and the tensioner on. I would put the little bolt in that's missing in this photo on after you put the belt on. That'll make it easier. Next is the balancer belt. The left balancer gear has clear marks on its shaft on the top that you just line up. And it also has a mark on the side showing where it should be that I showed you there too. The right balancer gear is a little bit of a pain, but just make sure the indents on the pulley or where the mark on the block is like I have it. And now you can put your balancer belt on. Check all timing marks after you're done to make sure they still line up. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the valve lash for the exhaust and intake valves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we have it at top dead center for cylinder 1. I'm going to take my exhaust gauge, and we're going to feel this. Our exhaust is 0.30 millimeters or 0.12. I think that's inches. So what you're gonna do is put it between the piece that moves on top and the spring. So this is a little loose. They're both a little on the loose side. Can knock them loose. What I'm gonna do is stick this in here, put our 10mm on there, hold this, and lefty loosey. Hopefully. Okay, lefty loosey. We can tighten it just a little bit. And when you're doing the valves, you want to make sure you keep your hand and pressure off of the top of the valve, or you're going to get an incorrect reading. So tighten it a little bit more. You want a little bit of drag on it. Like you can feel it starting to grab. You can feel it grabbing on each side. And that's what you want. Alright, that's perfect right there. Now I'm gonna try to hold it in place. Alright. Now let's see how we did. I like that. That's pretty good. Same for this side. Since we're gonna adjust it, I'm gonna knock it loose. Wiggle this around a little bit, and it did loosen up a little bit, so we're gonna, that's a little too tight. Right there. Okay. That one's good. That one's good. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the intake side, except I'm going to use a, come on, 0.25mm or a 0.10, 0.010, not for. The actual spec calls for 0.26mm plus or minus 2. I don't have 26, so I'm using 25, which is perfectly fine. It's the exact same thing. And then I'll show you what to do the second cylinder. Alright, what we're gonna do now that we did all 4 valves, 1, 2, 3, 4, intake and exhaust, we're gonna go to the second cylinder. And the way we're going to tell to make sure we're at top dead center for cylinder 2, which will have us ready to adjust the valves, is we're gonna take a really long flathead screwdriver, stick it down the spark plug hole so we can watch to see the height of the screwdriver as the piston moves. On the last stages of getting this thing running, all I gotta do now is fill it up with coolant, finish this adjustment, put the valve cover and distributor back on. What I did do is I put all the brackets on with the alternator, power steering pump, that's self-explanatory. You just follow the bolt holes and line it up. Engine mounts on, valve cover, or not valve cover, the timing belt covers are on the top and bottom. I have the crank bolt all tightened up. For the crank bolt, all you want to do is use the same thing that you use to take it off. If you don't have an impact strong enough, use the special tool to put it in the as if you were turning it off. Put it going left on a big socket. Put it on the pulley, and then use another socket with a 19 millimeter, I believe. Using a 19 millimeter in the middle, and you just tighten that sucker up. I got physically under the car so I could really yank on it, make sure it's not coming off. Tighten the dipstick down. Wiring is good. I gotta put the belts on still, but that's not a big deal. Gotta do the coolant. Exhaust is on, or the exhaust manifold is on. It's coming along, guys. But for what I wanted to tell you guys was that when you're adjusting your valves, you got to remember that you're doing 1, 3, 4, 2, not just in order. So when you spin this, when it's in the up position, all the way up top to the center, that's for cylinder 1. When you turn it counterclockwise, it's going to go down this way, and you want to see the arrow right there. That's for cylinder 3. And then when you turn it again, it's going to be pointing downward, which you can't really see unless you have that cover off. I'm just going to watch to see the screwdriver go up for number 4. And then the last one should be to the right side. And we're doing the last one there. Shouldn't be too bad. They shouldn't have to be adjusted other than this one, because I loosened those up. Alright guys, it's the moment of truth. Everything's put together. There's oil in it, there's coolant in it. I still have to burp the system, but it's enough to see if we have another splurge come out. If we do have a head gasket issue, it is most likely with the a warped head. I did check the top, the aluminum part of the head, because that's the part that would be warped. I mean, the bottom can still warp, but aluminum is more likely to warp. So I checked that. It seemed pretty good. There weren't many gaps. So we're going to try to start it up. Hopefully there's no issues with our head gasket, and I remembered everything. Let's fucking go! I'm gonna need the flashlight. Sorry guys, we're gonna look things over real quick. We might be okay, guys. I'm gonna make sure I'm watching this coolant, and as it idles, I'm gonna check everything over to make sure it's not leaking. So far, so good. That smoking should just be either residual coolant or the valve cover.